Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5. So, we're going to start off with taking a look at what's going on with Tropical Storm Bret. And let's bear in mind that this time of year, it's highly unusual to get a tropical storm, let alone a hurricane, in the tropical Atlantic. It's just too darn early for that. You have to go back to 1933 to find a hurricane that came out of the tropical Atlantic, and that wound up traveling so far south that it hit Trinidad and Tobago, which is right off the coast of South America. So at the end of the day, the odds favor that this system, will probably hold its own for a while, but I would be shocked if it winds up strengthening. Uh, in fact, the Hurricane Center has taken down the idea of it becoming a hurricane before it reaches the Leeward Islands and leaves it as a tropical storm. And because it's weaker, we talked about this yesterday, that the weaker the system is, it's going to respond more to the low level winds in the atmosphere as opposed to the upper level winds. So that means that this will probably track mostly to the west or maybe west northwest through its life cycle. So we are seeing it reach the Leeward Islands sometime, the southern Leeward Islands, sometime Thursday evening, and then moving on to the other side into the Caribbean. And this is an area too that oftentimes produces very strong wind shear, very strong winds in the upper atmosphere. Here's the floater satellite loop, and you can see that the center is actually exposed. There's a heavy convection on either side in all four quadrants of the storm, but the center now is kind of exposed and away from that heavier convection. So there might be a little bit of shear going on at the mid levels of the atmosphere, which is inhibiting this from strengthening much, or at least that it's inhibited it so far. So we'll continue to watch it, but right now it does appear that this is not going to become a huge deal. Wind, yes. Rain, yes, for the islands, but we're not expecting anything that is going to be, that we could categorize as major. So that's not going to happen. Okay, here we go back to the U.S. And of course, the eastern part of the United States has got this upper low that is sitting now in northern Tennessee near Nashville. It's moved maybe about 75 miles since yesterday. It's just basically spinning and rotating on itself. The southerly winds that are developing ahead of it in the upper atmosphere, pushing clouds a little further north today. They'll come even further north tomorrow, and also the rain with it is doing the same. The flashes here, those are all lightning strikes that are occurring from clusters of thunderstorms that have developed. Here's the northeast close-up view. We also should mention, too, we do have a little bit of smoke going on, particularly in southeastern PA and southern New Jersey and points south and west that's reached moderate levels. But to the northeast and across upstate New York and New England back to about New York City and Long Island, the smoke today seems to be we're either on the edge of it or pretty much minimal. Radars are busy early this afternoon. You see clusters of downpours and thunderstorms across the southeast. It's not raining in every single spot. It's not a widespread area of rain. And this is how it's going to look over the next several days as this area starts to translate further north. There's not much going on the radar in the northeast, but we do have some showers off the New England coast east of Boston and also in Maine. Some thunderstorms moving across the Florida Peninsula, and also seeing a northwest southeast area of thunderstorms from northeast Louisiana down to southern Mississippi, and some of those thunderstorms are strong, even producing some special marine warnings. And we're seeing some clusters of showers, and probably later on today we'll see a few thunderstorms there up in the northern plains, where the Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe weather. Across the Gulf states along the Gulf Coast from East Texas to Florida and southern Georgia, we have a marginal to slight risk of severe weather, and there's an area of 2% tornado risk covering much of the state of Louisiana and southern Mississippi, and also central areas of North Dakota and South Dakota. Now, going forward for tomorrow, slight risk in parts of the southern and western plains, a marginal risk southern Georgia, southernmost Alabama, and most of Florida except the southwest, and no thunderstorms forecast for the northeast, the northern mid-Atlantic states back to the Ohio Valley. So that's Wednesday into Thursday. And then as we move on to Thursday into Friday, looking at general thunderstorm activity creeping up the coast, almost but not quite to southern New Jersey and southern Pennsylvania, and points southward. Marginal risk in the western plain states. And the rainfall is robust. Now, remember, a lot of these areas in the southeast have already picked up a couple of inches of rain. So we're looking at an additional uh, 3 to as much as 7 inches of rain in some areas over the next 7 days, particularly in the orange areas in North Carolina, southwestern Virginia. In the Northeast, we're looking at areas of 2 to 3 inches in eastern Pennsylvania into New Jersey, and also in parts of upstate New York, we're looking at an inch and a half plus. Tails off a little bit as you head to the coast. Big rains also for the central and northern plains back up into Montana. Just want to go back real quick to Bret. We have a ridge off the east coast, and Bret is going to be moving underneath that ridge. You can see a trough. This was back on Saturday coming off the east coast, and as we go forward, that ridge just pretty much holds there and strengthens a bit. So I really don't think this is going to be a problem. Certainly not for the East Coast and for the Gulf of Mexico. Again, the islands are a different story because that ridge will force Bret to track to the south. Meanwhile, you see that trough there, this upper low that we've been talking about. This is this last map here is Thursday. So here we are at Tuesday, and between now and Thursday, the upper low doesn't go anywhere. So get ready as the flow starts to turn southerly along the east coast. We're going to start to see areas of showers, downpours, and maybe some thunderstorms moving northward eventually. The onshore flow holds into Wednesday. Some rain gets into southern New Jersey, and then you see the rain from Virginia down to Georgia and Alabama. Thursday, probably the one area of rain will move up the coast with the east wind off the ocean. And then we'll probably have showery rains and occasional thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in much of the eastern part of the United States. We're going to cover this all in great detail tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So mark it down, and we hope to see you then.